Hey, hello. I'm Martin Yelverton. Let's do a little yoga practice together. Get the body moving a little bit, get the breath moving, flowing, and the thread running through the practice the whole time is the idea of trying to keep our mind with what we're doing, with our breath and with our body, and celebrating those moments when you notice your mind has wandered off, because that's what minds are going to do. And those are good moments when you actually notice that, because it gives you the chance to come back, to be present with what you're doing. That's the essence of this practice that we're doing here, is presence. We are practicing being present with what we're doing from one moment to the next. In this case, for the next hour or so, we're going to be moving our body a bit and working with the breath. Practice is going to be reasonably simple physically, no crazy stuff like standing on your head or tying yourself into weird contortions. Going to be reasonably straightforward movement practice, but very important that if any of it feels too strong for you, if it feels like it's not working for you, particularly if anything hurts, you just stop doing it. That's the wise decision to take. We're sort of practicing this to see if we can take in information as it unfolds, moment by moment, and respond wisely to it. So if what happens is you're hurting, the wise response is to stop doing it. Okay. So very important that you take that on board, even though what we're going to do is simple. So to start off with, I'm going to suggest taking yourself into constructive rest position on the floor. I'm going to quickly, if you're not familiar with the position, I'm going to quickly show you, just lying on your back. Lying on your back with your feet on the floor, your knees up towards the ceiling. Your arms, however you want, they can be out on the ground, beside you, wherever. Hands on your tummy, whatever feels comfortable. But just lie down. Feet are roughly hip-width apart. And as you settle into that position on the floor, take a few moments to shimmy your feet a millimeter or two forward, a millimeter or two back, out to the side a bit, in a little bit, and seeing if you can find a place where your feet are placed where it arises, some kind of a sensation of release arises in the muscles right up at the top of your thighs. Sometimes happens that your hip flexors release a little bit in this position. But let's not make too much of a fuss about it. I'm just suggesting that you shimmy your feet around a little bit until you find a place that feels reasonably sweet and relaxed. And then just settle down now. Any wriggling or twitching you need to do, just let it slowly come and go as you settle down on the floor now. Eyes can be open, eyes can be closed, up to you. So let's start off by relaxing the face. Let your forehead relax. Release the muscles of your forehead, if that's possible. Soften the muscles around your eyes. Just really relax your muscles around the eyes. Almost as if in softening around the eyes, you are allowing your eyeballs to sink a little bit deeper into the sockets. Soften your jaw. No need to let it hang open slackly, but soften the jaw. Is it possible to soften the roof of your mouth, the palate? Can you soften your palate? Soften the tops of your shoulders facing up to the ceiling, your chest. Soften your tummy. Relax your bum. Soften your glutes. Be as soft as you can. And then let's bring attention to the placement of the back of the head on the floor. Just noticing the contact. Notice the quality of the contact between your head and the floor. Not analytically more, but it's more about feeling this. Just feel how it feels where your floor and the head where your head and the floor make contact. Don't need to adjust anything. But how does it feel? Does it feel like your head might be rolled over slightly to one side, maybe rolled over slightly to the other? Or does everything does the back of your head feel pretty squarely placed on the floor? None of those is correct or incorrect. Just looking at what's happened right at this moment as you lay down on the floor. Then, from the back of your head on the floor, letting your awareness travel up towards your neck, back of your neck. So seeing if you can note the point at which your neck curves up from the back of your skull. One moment, your head's on the floor, and then all of a sudden there's that curving upwards into your neck. Seeing if you can find where that curve begins, and then following that curve down through the neck, down through the spine, to where it connects with the floor again, somewhere in your upper back, your middle back, wherever it happens to be, but just trying to follow that curve and find the two end points of it. The point just below the base of the skull where it rises up, and the point where it connects the ground at some point in your back again. So just gently exploring that curve for a few moments. And then letting your attention carry on down your spine, towards your pelvis, your sacrum, beneath you on the ground. Noticing again whether, thinking of your spine as kind of a dividing line between two halves of your body. Notice whether it feels like your weight is more on one side or the other of that dividing line of your spine. Or do you feel pretty evenly placed on your back and the back of your pelvis on the floor? Let your attention travel up through your thighs, up towards your knees, and then down through your lower legs into your feet. And bring your attention, first of all, to your toes. Can you feel the floor with all 10 toes? Can you feel point of contact with each toe on the floor? Sometimes the toes get scrunched up from committed shoe wearing. You lose a bit of that contact, but just investigate how it is for you. Maybe wiggle your toes a tiny bit, see if you can make that contact with the 10 toes on the floor. And bring your awareness to the balls of your feet, just behind your toes, to the heels of your feet, the outer edges of each foot, the arches of each foot or the lack of arches. Not everyone has got a pronounced foot arch. And noting whether it feels like your weight tends to be favoring one side or other of the foot. So maybe it feels like most of the weight that you can feel through your feet is on the outer edges of the feet or the inner edges of the feet. Or maybe it feels fairly evenly distributed across the full surface of the foot. Just check that out for a little while. And then bring your awareness to your breath. Just noticing how your breath is now. We're going to be actively working with the breath throughout the practice, but for now we're just checking it out, seeing what it's doing. Is your breath fast? Is it slow? Is it smooth? Is it ragged? Is it all over the place? None of it's wrong, none of it's right. And those are ultimately just words that get in the way of what I'm trying to invite you to explore, and that's feeling it. Feeling how your breath is inside your body. Feeling what your breath is doing to your body. Just lying there with your natural breath, observing it. And as you stay with your breath now, see if you can gently encourage it to lengthen, by which I mean taking slightly longer inhales and slightly longer exhales. Not straining for breath, not overdoing it. You still want to be breathing naturally, but just with a bit more awareness and trying to encourage that slow lengthening of the breath. Inhales a little bit longer, exhales a little bit longer. And also bringing your awareness to the pauses between those two phases of the breath. So you'd inhale, there's a brief pause there, then the exhale arrives. At the end of the exhale, there's another brief pause before the inhale arrives. So spending some time familiarizing yourself with those pauses. So you're not holding your breath. Those pauses are natural there, and they're highly individual. It can be a split second of a pause, or it can be 2 or 3 seconds. But allow those 4 phases of the breath to happen naturally. So you inhale, you pause, you wait for the exhale to arrive. When the exhale is ready to arrive, it arrives. And you ride the exhale. At the end of the exhale, You take the little pause there, you wait patiently for the inhale to arrive, and when the inhale arrives, it comes, and so on. So just breathe like this for a little while, with awareness of those 4 phases. And we're going to try and bring that kind of breathing to the whole practice, even as we move. We're going to try a practice whereby we're attempting to make one move, one breath. So we'll be taking an inhale, and as we do an inhale, we'll be moving our body in some way or another. There'll be a brief pause, and then on the exhale, we'll be moving our body in another way. But trying to pin either an inhale or an exhale to individual movements. And the whole time, of course, we're trying to see what the mind is doing. Has the mind wandered off? But in fact, the process of actually hitching the breath and the movement together can be a very good way. Almost the act of doing that almost keeps the mind in place. Although the more you get used to it, the more the mind wants to wander off. But seeing if you can do that and just observing. But I think I've rambled on enough now. Let's start moving. So I'm going to adjust my camera and come down into a constructive rest position myself. I'm not going to be demonstrating flashy moves or anything, but here we are, we're in our constructive rest position, and let's reach our arms up towards the ceiling. Shoulders are relaxed towards the ground. So just letting your shoulder blades be flat on the ground or flattish. Arms are reasonably relaxed. You haven't got a tight muscular reach. It's a soft, gentle reaching up towards the ceiling, and seeing if you can notice for a moment. See if you can notice the weight of your arms dropping into your shoulder sockets. Maybe letting the arms travel backwards and forwards a little bit until you can kind of feel like they are nicely snug, nicely aligned with your shoulder sockets. And everyone's shoulder alignment is differently, so there's no correct way for this. Just feel what feels most natural to you. So you can feel some of the weight of your arms dropping into your shoulders. And then on an inhale, reaching the arms up towards the ceiling a little bit. So reaching the fingers up towards the ceiling. You've got your little pause, and then on the exhale, letting the shoulder blades come back down to the ground. There's another little pause. And repeating. Just reaching up and letting the shoulders come back down. Each of those movements with either an inhale or an exhale. I said inhaling as you reach up and exhaling as you come down. And if you're doing it the exact opposite way, good, that's fine. Do it your way. But consciously trying to keep the 2 things together, the movements and the breaths. And we're trying to keep the breath slow, so the movement's going to be slow. At the same time as this, there's plenty to be occupied here, over here, reaching up and coming down, protracting and retracting. There's plenty to be occupied with there, but see also where else you can notice sensation in your body. What are you feeling in your neck in response to this? What are you feeling in your back? Can you feel something in your feet that's somehow connected to this movement of the arms? Next time your shoulders are down again, take a pause and let them rest there. And we're going to move the arms in a different way now. As we inhale this time, we're letting the arms float out on the side of us onto the ground. And then as we exhale, we're bringing them back up again. And repeat this now at your own pace. Inhaling to float them out down to the ground. Taking that pause, waiting for the exhale to arrive. And when the exhale comes, hitching the exhale to the movement or the movement to the exhale, and bringing it all up to the center again. And once again, if you are doing the breathing and the moving in the exact opposite configuration to what I've suggested, totally fine. Just one breath, one movement. That's all we're after. Noticing wherever you feel sensation. Obviously, you might be feeling some strong stuff around the arms, the shoulders, the chest. But where else? Your neck, your back, again, your feet. Can you feel this in your feet somehow? Even if it's just a subtle bracing of the body with the feet. Next time your arms are up, leave them up there just for a few moments. Going to do something quite strong now, so if it's too strong for you, just stop doing it and relax. But let's take the arms down towards the ground, but not all the way to the ground. So you're letting your arms hover just above the ground. The arms have come out on either side, but you're hovering them above the ground now. And we're just going to hang out here for a little while and observe what happens to the body, to the breath, to the mind. So see what you feel in your body as you lie here. We're putting a whole bunch of stress into our system, and we're seeing how the body reacts to that stress, the breath, and your mind. Maybe you're lying here thinking, I must beat the world record for having my arms hovering above the ground. Maybe you desperately want to bring them onto the floor, but for whatever reason, you're not allowing that to happen. Maybe you're, I could lie here forever. But just observe how you're reacting to this, not making any judgments about what your reactions are, just feeling them. And of course, if one of your reactions is, I must take these arms down now, then that's what you must do. That's the wise yogic decision. But just see what happens. Linger a little while longer. And then we're going to let our arms totally relax now. Really release the arms, the shoulders, and just lie there for a few moments and feel the residual sensations associated with what you're just doing. Just feel how your body's responding to all of that. Feel the release in your tissues. Feel the release mentally. Tension and release. It's a nice combination. Light and dark. Let's bring the arms down by the sides now. One hand either side of your hips. We're going to bring the legs in and do some stuff, moving the legs a little bit now. So I'm going to suggest as a starting position, bringing your legs, your thighs in towards your belly a bit, and letting the low legs just dangle down. We're not doing this Pilates style tabletop position. We're letting the low legs just flop down towards, letting your feet hang down towards your bum. As we inhale, we're going to take the arms back and let the legs go straight up towards the ceiling. And by straight up, I mean whatever straight legs is to your body. That's happened on the inhale. On the exhale, we've come back down to the starting position. If by some chance you're doing it opposite in terms of breath and movement, I promise you that's fine. So just flow this a little bit now. Inhaling as you take the arms back, reaching the legs up. When the legs are up, maybe try pulling the tops of your feet, the toes towards your shins, so you can feel something happening in your legs. And then as you exhale, maybe pointing the toes briefly towards the ceiling, as you bring your feet down again to hang just above your bum. And repeat this now. Just flow now with your own breath, your own rhythm. And remember those little pauses between the phases of the breath. In fact, those pauses are phases of the breath. So inhaling, legs are going up, arms are going back. There's a pause there. It might be a split second, it might be a few seconds. And then coming back down on the exhale. It might be a split second here, it might be a few seconds before the inhale arrives. Next time your legs are up and your arms are behind you, leave them there for a few moments. And keep breathing. You're not waiting now. This is not an extended pause waiting for an exhale or anything. We're breathing now, just breathing. We're going to hold a position here for a little while. Once again, introducing some tension into the body and see how the body responds and how the mind responds. So for this one, still keeping the legs up. Legs can be bent, they can be straight, whatever works for you. We're going to bring the upper body up and reach the arms forward. And we're coming up with our body and we're looking down towards our belly button, lengthening the back of the neck, and just hold this position for a few breaths. How possible is it to have nice, smooth, long, steady breaths when you're doing this? So an opportunity to see what happens to the breath when you hold your body in a position of tension and when you move with your breath. At any point, if it's too much, you stop doing it. Let's take the arms behind again. Big inhale. And then on the exhale, bring everything back down to the front. Let your feet come onto the floor now. Pause and relax. Feeling the echoes of the movement, of the tension in the body. Feeling the residual sensation. Feeling it ebb away, or maybe not. Maybe you're holding on to the sensation in some way. Maybe you're holding the tension in your body somehow. But as the body relaxes again, allowing the breath to lengthen, and just watching what happens to the sensation you just introduced. Let's take one leg out on the ground in front and let's bring the other one in towards the body. So for this one, either grabbing the front of your shin, grabbing the back of your thigh, whatever is most accessible to you, and pulling that leg in towards your body. It'll be just off to the side of your belly maybe. And at the same time that you're pulling that leg towards your body, you're pushing back against your hands with your leg. So the hands, the arms are pulling the leg towards you, but the leg's not coming with, the leg's pushing back against that pulling. So you've got two forces countering each other here. You're trying to pull the leg towards you, but you're pushing back against that pulling. And explore that. You can max out your strength here. You can do the strongest possible pulling and pushing, or you can just have it, if it were on a scale of 1 to 10, you could just have the volume turned up to 1. But just applying these two counter forces against one another. Nice, long, steady inhales and exhales. And then release it. Going to let that leg go out on the ground alongside the other one. And before we do the other one, just take a few moments to notice how the legs feel in relation to one another. Not comparing them in the sense of drawing up some kind of an intellectual checklist, but just feeling. How do they feel? How do they feel different or do they feel the same? Just feeling the two legs alongside one another, one of them having just been actively stretched like we just did. And then let's do the other one. Exact same thing, pulling that leg towards you, but pushing back against the pulling. So two forces here. Pulling the leg towards you, pushing against it. So ordinarily that leg would come right in towards you if you relax the leg and pulled, but you're not letting that happen. So the leg's going nowhere, the leg's pretty much stationary. But the leg is working and the arms are working. Two forces kind of neutralizing themselves. How does that feel when those two forces meet up together? Keep the breath going. Nice, long, smooth inhales and exhales. And then we're going to release it. Let that leg go out alongside the other one. Do whatever you want with your arms and just take a few minutes to lie there and notice what you notice in terms of sensation. What are you feeling? Reach your arms behind you, engage your legs, so you're like trying to press the ground with your legs a little bit. Bring the arms up, forward, bring the upper body up. Roll up. This can be tricky. Trying to sit up, that's all. We're sitting up now. So bring yourself up into a seated position. And we're going to do a few earth salutations now. Now, earth salutations, it's a flowing practice. One move, one breath. But to start off with, we're going to do like a variation of it. Earth salutations normally start in this kneeling position in which you see me now. It's called hero pose. That's where we start and we do our earth salutations in and out of this position. However, this can be a fiendishly nasty position for a lot of people because of the extreme knee range here, and the ankles can be kind of hardcore. So I'm going to suggest, even if this position is totally comfortable for you, let's, by way of experiment, investigate what it's like to do the same thing out of a cross-legged position. Even this can be nasty for some people, but let's for the sake of this video, this practice, let's assume that we can at least do this, and then we'll do the other version in a moment. But for starters, let's just, as an investigation, and the point of this being to show you how, or to not to show you so much as for you to feel how you can take something in a practice and convert it somehow to work for you. You're not trying to make your body fit into a certain kind of movement or into a posture. You're trying to make the posture and the movement fit your body somehow. That's the mission. Okay, so let's start off in the seating position. We're going to reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Just reach them up. We're going to hold each position for a little while because we'll do the full flowing version in a moment. But for now, we just hold to get a feel of the position. So the first position is reaching up like so. Going to come down into a fold now, so fold forward. You don't have to get your forehead on the ground or anything crazy. Do whatever feels right for you. Take a few breaths there. And then let's come up onto hands and knees. So that's our next position. We're coming up onto our hands and knees. This position, let's have our head up a little bit. And let's have our chest inclined up and pulling forward. So almost with your hands, almost like you're trying to pull yourself forward on the hands. Your chest is coming up and forward. Don't worry about your bum. You're not trying to stick your tail up into the air or anything. Just forget about your pelvis. Let your pelvis do whatever it's doing. But awareness here on picking the head and the chest up. Next position will be going to a downward facing dog. So coming up into a downward facing dog. Straight legs if you want, totally bent legs if you want. Trying to find in this position a reasonably neutral spine. So you can really affect how your spine is by depending how bent your legs are, but find a place where you feel comfortable there, just for a few breaths. When we do the practice just now, we're not holding this position for long at all, we're going to be flowing. Let's come back down to hands and knees. Same thing. Pick the head and the chest up. And then let's come back to a seated position. Next position, we go into a camel pose. So that's, I'm going to shuffle a little bit away from my camera so I'm vaguely in view still. So this will be up on it's an upright kneeling position. Support the back of your sacrum with your hands, and it's a back bend. Pelvis is gently pushing forward. You're looking up towards the ceiling. You're picking your chest up, and you're taking a gentle back bend. And then we're going to come back down to our seated position and pause. And there's the earth salutation. We're going to do them now in the version where you are going to be taking it from hero pose. But you'll know whether hero pose is whether hero pose works for you or not. So if you know that this is a lousy position for you, please just play around with what we were just doing with the seated position. Okay, so for the first round, I'm going to suggest breathe in when you do this, breathe out when you do that, and then I'm just going to let go of that, and you just breathe in a way that feels natural to you, but with the idea of trying to make each of those movements with either an inhale or an exhale. So let's go. Inhaling, the arms come all the way up. Exhaling, we come down into child pose. Inhaling, up onto hands and knees with the head up and the chest up. Exhaling into downward facing dog. Inhaling to hands and knees, head up, chest up. Exhaling to child pose. Inhaling, we're coming up for our camel. Support the lower back, pelvis goes forward, look up to the ceiling, lift the chest up towards the ceiling, and then come back down on the exhale. And now we're just going to flow a few rounds of these. Do your best to find a breath that works for you. So all the way up, all the way down to child. Hands and knees, head up, chest up. Into downward facing. Hands and knees, lift the chest and the head. Back to child. Coming up to camel pose, support your low back. Look up, pick the chest up. Returning to hero. All the way up. All the way down to child. Hands and knees, head up, chest up. Downward facing dog. All fours, head up, chest up. Child. Rising to camel, support your sacrum. Pick the chest up, look up. Returning to hero. Let's go again, all the way up. Trying to find softness in the movement, all the way down. Head up, chest up on hands and knees. Back to downward facing dog. Hands and knees, head up, chest up. Child. Up to camel. Support your back. Pick your chest up, look up. Come back to hero. We do one more round. All the way up. All the way down. Trying to find one breath each phase. Hands and knees, head and chest up. Downward facing dog. Either you've got an inhale or an exhale here. Next phase of the breath. Head up, chest up. Child pose. Next phase of the breath, rising to your camel. Returning to hero. Now just spend a few moments sitting here. You can sit here in your hero pose, or if you want to, you can sit cross-legged for a short while. But just taking the time to observe the sensations emerging in your awareness now. Where you're feeling stuff happening in your body, what you're feeling, but without trying to make a story about it. Just trying your best to feel it as raw sensation. Tinglings, vibrations, twitchings, pulsings. Not even trying to think, oh, there, I feel my shoulders doing this, that, or the other. Just feeling what you feel. We're going to stand up, do a tiny bit of stuff standing up, but before we do that, let's take a brief squat. So for a squat, you can either do one on the balls of your feet, like so, with your knees up, your feet. If this is reachable for you, you can do this. Trying to sit up nice and tall through the spine. If you need to support yourself with hands on the ground, if you can squat flat on the feet and keep a straight back, fine too. If you're working on a squat, getting your legs open a bit wider can help a little bit. And if a squat is something that doesn't happen for you, just sit for a few more moments and enjoy it. And then let's stand up. I'm going to adjust my camera a little bit so I'm not this weird talking head off the top of the camera. Okay, so take a few moments as you stand up to just feel how your body adapts to being standing again. Just feel the difference in sensation from when you do. Everything's changed. The blood pressure has some effect on your blood pressure. Just notice how everything adapts. Notice how your body reconfigures itself to this new position of being upright. Very top of your sternum, your breastbone, right up at the top. Explore the idea of gently lifting that up, but not puffing your chest out. Just gently lifting up the uppermost part of your sternum. Manubrium. You can feel a little notch there, and you're just kind of lifting that up very gently towards the ceiling. Can sometimes have a really powerful impact on making you feel straighter but without straining. Imagine your head being like a balloon lightly floating up towards the ceiling. And then bring your attention to your toes. See if you can make contact with all 10 toes on the floor beneath you. Maybe look down even if you need to. If it's not immediately obvious by way of feeling, maybe have a look. See if all 10 of your toes are making some contact with the floor. And it's totally fine if you want to manually shift your toes about. Sometimes fine if I've been going through a period of extended shoe wearing, then I might have to manually pull my little toes out a little bit so they can get nice contact. but making that contact, seeing if you can get all 10 toes on the floor, seeing if you can feel the full footprint of each foot on the ground. Like if you stepped into a paint tray and then came and stood on my lovely blue carpet, you'd see, and you took your foot away, you'd see a footprint like a graphic artist had drawn. The classic picture of a footprint, trying to feel that. You might find you tend to have all your weight slumping inwards. So most of your weight just hangs in on the inside of your feet or the outside of your feet. But just take a few moments just to adjust how your feet are placed on the floor to see if you can get some more grounding. Do a little practice. It's going to be quite a strong practice, but with some investigating some rotation through the waist. And the posture we're going to take has so many different names in so many different movement traditions, but one of the names it's used in yoga that's used in yoga is goddess posture, or goddess pose. And that's what we're going to call it today. That's what I'm going to call it today. I don't normally call it that. I normally call it something else. But for the sake of today's practice, let's call it goddess pose. So this is a wide-legged stance. It's a wide-legged stance. It's basically doing a squat with wide legs. What I'm going to show you from the side, you don't want to be folding over too much. You don't want to be leaning back too much. You want to be trying to find a reasonably neutral spine. And lots of other traditions, in fact, I'm going to bring in one of the other names. In lots of other traditions, this is named horse riding stance or horse stance. So there's the idea. I think that's quite a nice way of conveying the idea of a straight spine, like you're on a horse. But let's still be goddesses, right? Let's still be goddesses. Things to watch out for here. I don't want to bang on about it too much. I'd rather just do it. Things to watch out for are going so wide that your knees are collapsing inwards. You don't want your knees to be collapsing. You don't want to feel any strain on your knees. You want to feel your knees are roughly in line with your toes, very roughly. And your knees are roughly above your ankles. So the tendency is to let your knees collapse forward as you start getting tired in this. So just take a few moments to feel what's going on in this position for yourself. It's different for everybody, but if you find your knees are not happy, maybe you've gone too low, maybe try adjusting the angle of your foot, the way they're pointing out or in. And this is another one of those ones where you can do it really high up, or you can do it quite low down. But whether you're doing it quite low down or quite high up, keep these legs active. There's not much point to doing this if you're not working your legs, creating on one level, lots of sensation for us to work with in the observational practice. But hey, it ain't bad for strengthening the legs and the gluteal muscles. So just let's stand up straight for a moment before we do the practice we're going to do. That's the position. That's our goddess, the basics of the goddess stance. Find a way of working that for you. And we're going to introduce some rotation into the body now while we're doing that. So let's take our stance. We're going to take our arms out to the side. Let's have the palms facing up. I'm going to rotate from the waist to one side. Now, what we're trying to do here is rotate from the waist. So, not rotating your hips forward. Your hips are staying stationary and square on. You're just rotating at the waist, and you won't be rotating very much at all because the body's not designed to do too much of that. But going over to one side, rotating from the waist, coming back to the center. Inhale. Rotate to the other side. Taking those pauses between the breath. Coming back. Inhaling to the center and then exhaling as you rotate to the other side. Waiting for the inhale to arrive. The inhale comes as you return to the center. Exhaling to the other side. Waiting for your inhale. Coming back when it's time. And a few like this. Just take a few more by yourself. You might be inhaling as you go to the side, doesn't matter. But trying to pin one movement to the breath. Next time you're back at the center, let the arms come down, take a brief pause, straighten out these legs. Can feel pretty strong if you've been working those legs quite actively in your goddess posture. You'll feel that after a while. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more with the same leg stance. So in our goddess stance with the legs, with the pelvis square to the front. So here we go again. This time, let's have quite a big bend in the elbow. So our palms are still pointing upwards, still facing upwards with the palms, like you're holding something up towards the ceiling. This time, as we rotate to one side, we're going to push with that backhand, like you're pushing something away from you as you look towards the hand that you're pushing back. And then rotating back to center. Rotating to the other side with that backhand, pushing, as if you're pushing something away from behind you. And then coming back to center as the arms return to the opening position. And repeat now with breath. Doesn't matter where you're inhaling, where you're exhaling, up to you. Whichever feels best. And you've got those pauses with your breath. Next time you're back at the center, stay there. Stand up and take a few moments. What sensations are you feeling? How's your breath? Is your breath racing away? Can you rein it back in by allowing it stage by stage to lengthen again? One more set of movements in the same stance. So coming back down into your goddess stance legs, we've got the same elbows in kind of approach this time. And once again, we're rotating, except this time, as we're rotating, the hand that's behind you pushes the ground towards the ground, and the other one pushes upwards. So it's kind of a palms pushing up towards the ceiling with the front arm, palms pushing towards the floor with the back arm. Rotating back to the center. Being careful to rotate from the waist, not moving the hips around. The stance is stable. The hips are square. Rotating to the other side, pushing the backhand down as the top one pushes back up. Return to center as the hands come back to place. Other side, rotate, push down, push up. Keeping your spine nice and long. Returning to the center, returning to the arm position. Rotating to the other side, pushing down, pushing up. Just take a few now, going at your own pace with your own breath. Next time you come back to center, straighten your legs out and take a brief pause, noticing the sensations arising. And we'll finish this last bit of standing up work with a wide-legged half forward fold. So legs can probably stay pretty much as they are from your goddess stance, but can go a little bit wider. And I'm just going to show a side view. So I'm still in my wide-legged stance. Hands coming down onto the tops of the thighs, right up where your thighs join your body. Straighten your legs as much as they can straighten for you. A gentle pushing back kind of vibe with the hands here. So pushing your bum back a little bit. Lengthening your spine out nice and neutral. So not arching up, not rounding down. As neutral a spine as you can find. You can be up a little bit like I am. You can come down a bit lower if you can find a neutral spine lower. And just stand and breathe. Engage the legs a little bit. So almost this feeling of pushing back against the legs, but the legs are kind of pushing to the hands as well. Quite active with the legs here. Let's take that into a full forward fold. So bringing your hands down to the ground, bending your knees as much as you want to. And in fact, we're not even going to hang out in the full forward fold. We're bringing ourselves to the ground. Bring yourself into some kind of a seated position and let your body adapt a little bit to being back on the ground. We'll do a little bit of breath work now before we take our final rest. So take a few moments to find a position in which you can sit with a reasonably straight spine for a while. That might be cross legs on the floor, it might be hero pose on your knees, and also why not, if you prefer, a chair and you happen to have a chair to hand. Just some way in which you can sit comfortably, relaxed, with a straight up spine, but not strain straight up, relaxed straight up spine. Same thing again, this top notch, right up there, the very top of your sternum, the manubrium, lightly lifting up towards the ceiling. But not, you'll feel, if you lift too much, you're going to start arching in the back, you're going to feel it in your back. It's a very subtle adjustment to the torso. And that light, letting your head float up kind of feeling. And as your breath settles, going to bring all the attention to the left nostril. So just breathe in now and out now through the left nostril. That's all we're doing. Inhaling through the left nostril, exhaling through the left nostril. Eyes open, eyes closed, whatever you prefer. Undoubtedly, the right nostril is involved in this process as well. So if you notice that the air is going in and out of the right nostril, don't worry. All we're doing is trying to put all the attention into the left nostril. With enough practice, you could more or less not be breathing out in and out of the right nostril, but it's kind of always going to be involved to a greater or lesser degree. It's a mind thing. Put your attention into inhaling and exhaling through the left nostril only. Let's shift our attention now to the right nostril. Same thing. Inhaling and exhaling through the right nostril. Don't worry if you're also aware that the left nostril is involved somehow. It's not important. What we're trying to do is bring the attention to the breath moving in and out of the right nostril. And then return to breathing in and out of both nostrils. Nice, comfortable, relaxed breathing through both nostrils. And maybe try exploring this now. So to a slow count of 4, inhaling. So inhaling for a slow count of 4 and holding your breath to a count of 4. And then exhaling for a count of 6. Inhaling for 4, holding your breath for 4, exhaling for 6. You aren't trying to time clock seconds, it's your own internal count. So whatever rhythm of count you have. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. And if holding your breath doesn't feel good, if it feels troubling to you on any level, hey, please don't do it. Just breathe naturally. Just decreasing the amount of breath we're taking over a short period can really, really activate the part of your nervous system that relaxes you. And when you're relaxed, maybe there's an opening of awareness, ability to take in things more widely. Go a little while longer. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 6. The next time you complete a full cycle of this breathing, just return to your ordinary natural breathing. Take a couple of seconds to feel whatever you're feeling in your body in terms of physical sensations. How's your mind? How's your heart rate? How's your breath? Just feel sensation. And when you're ready, make your way onto your back on the ground. You can take constructive rest position, or if you want to, you can take the yoga posture, core shavasana, lying flat on your back with your legs out in front of you and a bit of space between your legs. But there's no need to make a particular fuss about how you're lying. Just lie on your back somehow. I'm going to invite you to lie on your back because we're going to do a short meditative exploration in our final rest. So either in shavasana with your legs out, or if you want, constructive rest position. Settle down there for a few moments. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes gently as you lie there. And gaze into the dark space in front of your closed eyes. Gently close your eyes, but you're still gazing into something, into this dark space. Relaxed, soft gaze into the space. And as you gaze into the space, have a look. See if you can see some kind of an endpoint in there. The space you're looking into, is there an endpoint somewhere there that you can see or that you're aware of? Check out the sides. Are there some sides? Can you think here's a left side or a right side containing the space somehow? Just check that out. Is that there? Is there a top? Is there a bottom? And I've started this off by saying we're kind of looking up, we're looking forward into the space. But is it possible that the same quality of space is where you think of beneath you or behind you? Is this space that you're gently gazing into, is the space constrained in any way? And maybe investigating or just opening to the idea that this space is kind of analogous to wide open awareness. Like you can't see your face or your eyes or your body or the brain that's processing all of this, but you can feel sensation where you know your body is. You can hear sounds arising and falling in the space. You'll be aware of thoughts coming and going the whole time. And you'll also be aware of the you that's aware of all of this. So you know that there you are processing all of this stuff, but beyond that there's a deeper awareness that's aware of the you that's aware. Just trying to see if you can feel your way into that sense of wide open awareness where sensation, sound, thought all kind of have a very similar quality of simply being stuff that's emerging in your awareness, in your consciousness. And trying to get a taste for the awareness of it all. So rather than the stuff that we're aware of, trying to be aware of awareness itself. Seeing, is it possible to get a little feel of that every now and again? I'm going to slowly bring this practice to a close. If you want to carry on lying here for a little while and resting, I encourage that. My voice is going to stop in a moment, so you'll be left in peace to lie in quiet. But if you want to finish the practice with me, maybe gently open your eyes, let some light back in, have a little bit of a wriggle or a stretch on the ground if you want to. And without being forceful about it, trying to get up into a seated position in as relaxed a fashion as you can. So taking your time, eventually coming up to sit again. Sit up nice and tall without straining. This next closing part of the practice, you can close your eyes if you want, you can have your eyes open if you want. Can center yourself with your hands, that Anjali Mudra, prayer position, at the center of the chest if you want. You can have your hands wherever you want to have them. It doesn't matter at all. I quite like the centering that comes with this gesture of the hands, but that's just me. Now, consider the possibility that maybe you've done this practice and that in doing this practice you've generated some positive energy. You've made energy move, you've harnessed some kind of positive energy that's perhaps felt good to you, that's perhaps benefited you in some kind of way. The whole focus of it all, the movement, the breath, the concentration has somehow created some energy that has been good for you. But your practice is done now. Your practice is over. You've finished with whatever good that you've created out of this practice. And now give your practice away. So maybe think of someone you know who might benefit from having some good stuff coming their way. So use your imagination and send out whatever good, whatever positive that you can conjure up with your imagination, having accrued from your practice. Send it out to someone. It's an act of the imagination, it's intention, but send some good out to someone you think can do it good. And when you're ready, open your eyes, go off and continue what you're doing, whether that's going off to have an amazing day or whether you are going to bed or whatever. But take care of yourself. If you want to find out more about what I'm doing, there'll be links to my website, wherever I'll post this video. During the lockdown, I've been doing some live classes on Zoom, both yoga and Pilates. And if you're interested in any of that kind of stuff, check it out. Otherwise, if you've made it this far and you've been through the whole practice with me, thank you for taking the time. Take care. Goodbye.